All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have George Sirois, who is an author, podcaster, and audiobook narrator. George, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Tim. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic, man. Thanks so much for asking. And we like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Oh, for fun these days. Wow, it's well, I am an international best-selling author. I am the author of a young adult science fiction trilogy called Excelsior. It's really the Excelsior Journey is the name of the whole thing. Um, Parts one and two are currently being set up with a new publisher, and part three is in development. I've also written a five-part science fiction sports serial called From Parts Unknown, and that was its own saga, putting that together, just as Excelsior is. I've been an audiobook narrator since 2016. I've narrated over 15 books so far. And my first nonfiction called Anger is Your Compass just came out last month by a gentleman named Moshe Ratson. It was a really great book and a very good self-help book, really very informative and very inspiring as well. And I am also a podcaster. I've been podcasting since 2016. I've had my own show since 2018. It's called Excelsior Journeys, inspired by the books. And it's a weekly podcast where I am interviewing different creative people of all types and allowing them a platform to kind of share their journey to success. I've also done a second podcast called From Duck Till Dark outside the Marvel Studios, and it's a look at all of the Marvel movies that are not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I am the co-founder of the Once Upon a Podcast Network, which is a creative centric network that has about 7 shows as of right now, with more on its way. And they're all about inspiring, motivating, celebrating, educating, and rejuvenating creatives of all types.
Hmm, I love it.
Yeah,
I'm
a few things.
curious. Yeah, just a few.
Yeah.
I'm curious. How do audiobook readers, narrators get paid? Like, is it a commission of the royalties? Is it a flat fee, hourly rate?
Well, there are a couple of different ways to do it. One of them is for those that are really kind of starting out and really want to get their portfolio built up. They'll take part in what's called a royalty share, and that's something that ACX, which is called the Audiobook Creation Exchange, does on as an option for people to get paid. And basically, what that means is, since it's mainly done on Amazon, but there are a couple other places that do it as well. But looking at going by the Amazon setup, Amazon takes 60% of the cut from the audiobook narrator, well, from the author, and 40% go to the rights holder, whether that's the author or publisher or whatever. And if you're doing a royalty share, then that 40% gets split in half. So 20% goes to the rights holder, 20% goes to the audiobook producer. And but then there are what I've been doing right now. I've done a few different royalty share books, but it's gotten to a point where I couldn't afford to keep doing it like that. So I had to jump in with both feet and go for the paid in full setup. And basically what they do is, it's called PFH, per finished hour. And what that means is that however long it takes for you to narrate what would wind up being an hour's worth of recording that the listener is hearing, that it doesn't matter how long it takes to get that first hour. What you're getting paid for is that finished hour. So you want to make sure that you're getting it. You don't want to waste too much time on it. You want to make sure you're getting it right. You want to make sure you're getting it good. And whatever amount you have set for that per finished hour rate, that's how much you're getting per finished hour. So case in point, the one of my books that I did for my own book, I will say, Forever Upward, which is part two in the Excelsior Journey. That finished book is about 10 hours worth. So if I were to pay myself, then I would get paid what my normal rate is currently, which is $250 per finished hour. And so I would get paid, 250 times 10. And in my case, when I'm doing them independently, when I'm working one on one with the author, I do have to add an extra charge on there because I'm also doing the editing. So you're not just getting an audiobook narrator from me, you're getting an audiobook narrator and an editor and a mixer. So it's my responsibility to deliver a finished product that I believe will be worth the listener's time. They're going to be, I've always said that a listener gets to hear me whisper sweet nothings in their ear for about 10 hours. So I got to make sure that those 10 hours are worth it, are worth their time.
Yeah,
So,
I got you. I got you.
yep.
Really interesting.
Hmm.
Really interesting. And so I feel like some audiobook narrators like
Hmm.
have good intonation when they read and they
Hmm.
can read it kind of how the author wrote it. I feel like that requires a read through or two to kind of know where to fix your tone and do this and do that. Is all that like, is it just a raw one time through reading out loud or how's that work?
I myself like to, I want to make sure that I read it as much as possible beforehand. I also don't want to keep the author waiting too long. I know that I'm currently on a project right now that's gone through quite a few delays, and that's been a matter of me being ill for a period of time and not having a voice at all. And also other couple other projects kind of pushed their way ahead, and so it's been difficult trying to get the rhythm, get the real momentum going for this book, but it's getting done, and I'm proud to say that. Um, but it does, when you're working one on one with authors, it's a lot easier to deal with those setbacks as they come.
Yeah.
There are other times when you're working with the company and there's a hard deadline. You have to deliver that finished period of time, like right then and there. So what I generally like to do is I like to give a good quick read through chapter by chapter as I go. Um, so I'll do, I'll read through the chapter. If there's something that I'm not quite 100% set on in terms of word pronunciation, then I'll look it up,
Mhm.
or I'll ask, what the best way is for this particular word to be pronounced. Um, there was one of my favorite examples was working with the first of what would eventually be six different stories that I've done for the same author. Um, there's a period in there where the main character just rolls off his tongue like the genus species names of all these different types of insects and animals. And I had to make sure that not only could I pronounce them, but that I could allow them to just roll off my tongue,
Yeah.
because this is something that this character basically learns as a hobby. So it's something that, he can immediately just say, "Oh, this is, the beetle," or then, like this. And so I had to keep that momentum going and make sure that I was getting it right and getting it to sound like it was a natural word for me to say. That's one of those things that it's one of those things that is it's a difficult part of being an audiobook narrator, to try to get those parts right. And I I'll admit, that I've not gotten them right the first time, like in a lot of cases, and I would have to go back and um adjust the pronunciation in the touch-ups after delivering the full chapters.
Yeah.
So it can be a difficult job at times, but at the same time, I do love it
Uh-huh.
because the author is entrusting me with bringing their books to life, and I don't take that lightly. And I I do it because I love it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha.
mhm.
That's cool, man.
Oh
Seems
yeah.
like you're not paid enough, but it is cool.
No, I think they're you know, from what I've made and everything, I can't complain.
There we go.
It's provided a good solid supplementary income in addition to the full-time job. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, if you're working a full-time job too, that is a good supplementary income right there.
Yes. It's a good supplementary income, but at the same time, like it's one of those things where you really have to make sure that it works with your schedule
Yeah.
because in my case, you know, as a husband and a father, I got to make sure that I'm always there. And so that part of it can be grueling at times.
Yeah.
But again, just the fact that someone out there is paying me to do what I love and it's it's giving me that sort of wonderful creative outlet. And just looking at the amount of books that I've done so far, I'm very, very grateful that they've
Yeah.
given me that opportunity.
Yeah. No, that's epic. Hey, if you love to do it and you're getting paid to do it, that's great.
Hmm. Exactly.
Well,
And
tell
I've
me.
gotten to do a lot of different types too. You know, it's been wild. You know,
Yeah.
working on so many different genres. It's been fun.
Yeah. 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 Well, tell me a bit more about your motivation. What really gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Uh, Part of it is a big part of it now. You know, like more than anything, is my daughter. Um, I want her at the end of the day to be proud of me, and I want to make sure that I am showing her that I am able to do what I need to do and do what I want to do and still be there for them, for my daughter and my wife, and be able to provide as much as I can for them. And if at the end of the day they realize that, and they do, and I'm grateful that they do, then it's all worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's something that I've always loved to do. It's something that I've wanted to be involved in voice acting ever since I was a kid. I
Hmm.
studied theater in college, and it was it was basically a great means for me to scratch that creative itch. And even though during my time after college, my passions went more toward writing than acting, I still get to be acting. I still get to do something that I enjoyed doing back in college. And when I had the opportunity to act or be a public speaker or give a presentation or something like that, it's always a blast, and it's something that I am truly grateful for.
I love it. Well, cool, man. Let's jump into your dreams and goals. Tell us about your vision for all the books you're writing, all the podcasts you're doing, the businesses, and your life.
The goal really is to be able to do all of my creative outlets on a full-time basis. I love my full-time job. I'm very grateful to my boss for giving me this opportunity to to do what I do. Um, but at the same time, I know that they're not going to be there forever.
Yep.
So I really love all the other outlets that I'm doing. I love podcasting. I've been doing it for since 2016 when I was asked to guest on a roundtable podcast show with a group of other authors from St. Louis, which is where I live now. And right after that episode, I was invited to be a part of that roundtable
Mm.
uh, full time. So it just it just started just like that, and it was a very basic show that was a lot of fun to do. And it was you get to hang out with your peers, other authors, and you get to talk about some real good, meaningful topics.
Yeah.
And doing all of that and being a part of it and watching the producer really kind of navigate everyone, because it's a tough job when there's almost 10 of us. trying to keep a conversation going, but also make sure that everyone's not overlapping on top of each other, and just watch him just directing traffic as he was. And it was wild to see. And it made me think that it would be a lot of fun to be able to do that myself, to have my own show. And I just kind of felt that bug bite me during that point. And it was doing that and then looking at my group of Facebook friends and seeing people that I've been through all walks of life with, from grade school all the way to the present, and with a lot of friends that I haven't yet met, and other friends that I've spent more than half my life knowing, and seeing how everyone was so creative. Everyone was pursuing their passions in all these different ways. And that had me thinking that, wow, everyone is really pursuing their dreams and making their creative visions come true. That's something that needs to be celebrated. All these people, they need to be on a podcast. They need to let people know who they are, let people know what they're working on, let people know that there is an audience waiting for them. And after a few months, it became, okay, these people need to be on my podcast. And then that's when everything really started to move in that direction. And all credit to the producer of the roundtable show, Right Pack Radio, David Allen Lucas, for giving me the name of the show, for inspiring the name of the show, and making me realize that I already had a brand name really baked in with the Excelsior Journey. And he just said, why not call it the Excelsior Journey? And I said, well, that sounds really good. Let me just tweak it. I'll call it Excelsior Journeys, since everyone has their own.
Yeah.
And it just kind of steamrolled from there. And then it just became this really fun one-on-one conversation with all these different creative people. And it's been it's this October, it'll be 5 years that I've done the show. And I just aired, we're doing this on Wednesday. The day before, on Tuesday, was when episode 200 of the show went live. And so it's been a blast. Um,
Amazing.
and then working with some great people on the Once Upon a Podcast network, and seeing a handful of really creative people try out podcasting and see how they like it. And with each episode, they're just getting better and better and better. And they're getting more used to the format and really enjoying the medium itself. And that in itself is wonderfully inspiring as well, because I remembered that same sort of feeling when I was just starting off and getting myself acclimated into doing my own show. And here they are doing their shows, and they're really, you can hear it in their voices, their enthusiasm for this medium and this format. They're having a blast doing this. And I want to keep cultivating that. I want that to just keep going for them. And eventually we're going to be moving into sponsorships and other forms of monetization. And that's something that we're looking at right now to really kind of expand our brand, really. Um, and so between that um, and the other big thing that happened this year was, the book Excelsior, I was able to adapt it into an audio drama. And so that in itself was its own saga. And getting to hear 25 different people bringing these characters to life that I've known for so long, and they did such a tremendous job on it too. And so it's been a wild year. 2023 has been a really wild year, and I am, with the launch of the network, with the audio drama, with the podcast reaching 200 episodes, with the 3-book deal that I've signed with this other publisher. Things just keep on, they're building
Yeah.
towards something. That's the way that I look at it. It's just like everything is just building towards something, and I'm not sure what it is yet, but I just have to keep on getting these, I guess, for for lack of a better term, Lego bricks, just one thing on top of the other, and keep that tower going because it's going towards something. I just don't know what it is yet.
I gotcha. I gotcha. So you want to be able to do all your creative outlets on a full-time basis. And recently you've seen the bricks just kind of stacking towards that
Yeah.
point where your income from the creative outlets basically going to replace the W-2.
Well, it's not there yet,
But
but
it's building. It's building.
it's building. It's building. Yeah. I was saying that to a friend of mine that I'm finishing up this one audiobook, which is a biblical epic, and I'm looking forward to delivering that finished product to the author because he's liking what he's hearing so far, and that's always a great thing. And then right after that, I have another one that I'm slated to do. But once I'm finished with them, I have to take a break from audiobook narrating for a while because I have to finish part 3 of this book trilogy. So that way I can deliver that for my publisher. And then we can go from there.
George, I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the book Buy Then Build?
Buy then build?
Hmm.
No.
Good book. Good book. You should check it
Yeah.
out. And then
Mhm.
my next question is, are there businesses that have a bunch of people who read audiobooks on their behalf and they broker the deals? Like, could you get a salary job as an audiobook narrator? And could you go buy a company that has multiple narrators narrating on their behalf and you like run that company? Like, could that happen? Are there companies like that?
Well, I'm actually part of a roster of audiobook narrators. And on with a couple of different places. And one of them is with this great company called Audio Sorceress, and a wonderful, wonderful person, Marnie Young, runs Audio Sorceress. And basically, what she does is when she gets the book submitted to her, she will basically just give it a look over. She'll see like what they have in mind. She'll interview the author, and then she'll say, okay, well, based on your specifications on what you want, whether it's a male narrator with this kind of accent, with this kind of age range to their voice, then it sounds like it would be either this, or this, different people. And then those people are invited to audition. And that's what happened to me with this nonfiction book that I did for her, because she basically just said that, we have the narrator has your kind of voice in mind. So do a little audition, read this. I think it was a page worth of text that I had to read.
And then she
And
gets a
I
cut.
did it. Well, yeah, it's her company,
Yeah, yeah.
but she's also paying the editor and and the mixer, to put all that together. So that's one of the advantages of working with Marnie is that all I have to do is narrate and use the tactic that's called punch and roll, which is basically you're editing as you go. You're getting to a mistake and then you hit a spot where you messed up. You use the function that you have on your computer on your digital audio workspace. I use Audacity for mine, and I highly recommend that to really anyone. I have a blast using it. User friendly and free. It's always a nice bonus. And I use the punch and roll plugin that they have. And what it does is it erases the mistake, and it also takes you back about 8 seconds so you can listen to the cadence and the tone and then pick right up where you left off. It's a great tool, and it's something that I've only recently started using on a regular basis in the past year, and I still can't believe that it took me this long to do it because it is a godsend when it comes to editing. Editing is a slog when you're basically like just marking your mistakes by putting a little snap into the microphone. You can see that little snap on the soundtrack, and then just using that as your guide to do all the editing, so tedious.
Yep.
So I'm so glad that I've discovered punch and roll. And I'm just like, where has this been all my life? Oh, it's always been there. I was just too dumb to use it. So,
Yeah,
so now that I'm using it, I feel so much better about myself. So,
I gotcha. I
yeah.
gotcha. That's epic, man. Well, good to know that there are businesses out there like that. Go ahead and
Oh yeah.
read, buy, then build,
Hmm.
and then think about what they call a platform acquisition. I think
Mm.
you might like the idea of it. I don't know how risk tolerant are you? Are you like I don't like risk at all, or are you like yeah
Mm.
risk?
I'm kind of averse to it.
Okay,
Like I want to say, like there are times when I will take a chance, but I can't really call that me like, saying like, yeah, let's do this. Because when those chances came, I didn't have a choice. I had to take it. So
yeah,
it was me last year all of a sudden not having my full-time job anymore. And in October, with the with the holiday season coming up and everything, and me just basically saying I have some commissions lined up for some audiobooks. I think I can, for the time being, just do the audiobooks and still sustain enough money to keep our income going. And sure enough, we were able to make it happen. It took you know it was rough at times, but from October through January, we were able to make that happen.
yeah.
And then it just so happened that there was one place that was hiring, and it seemed like it would be a good fit. I went in for an interview. I did the second interview where I was shadowing a couple of people. And then 2 days later, I was offered the job and I'm still there. So I'm just very grateful for that. So,
There we go.
yeah. So I can't say I'm a big risk taker. Um, but it's something that, just kind of had in the back of my mind. Just feel like once, if something like that were to happen again, then I know what I need to do in order to make the sudden shift in everything a little less painful.
Part of me, part of me believes. And I know this is gonna sound crazy.
Hmm.
I think buying a business that is of a certain revenue,
Hmm.
probably over $1 million in EBITDA,
Yeah.
is actually less risky than working a full time job.
Really?
I do think so.
Yeah.
Like the default rate on those loans, like the SBA gives out loans. So you could buy $1 million business. You could buy a business. This is what blows my mind, George. You could buy a business that brings you $1 million a year, like
Hmm.
to your pocket,
Yeah.
for probably 200 to $300,000.
Wow.
Then of course you have to pay the debt service with about 50 to 60% of that income. So you're doing 400K take home. Then you have to
Hmm.
run a business too. So you probably pay yourself a salary of 100 and spend 300 of it to grow the business. Still a six
Right.
figure salary, and you own an asset that's going to grow, right?
Hmm.
But the default rate on those loans is like less than 3% or something like that.
Wow.
Because the SBA loves to lend on these businesses because they know these businesses are pretty stable. And the other thing I realize is that if we think our jobs are stable, imagine how stable we must believe the businesses that we're placing our job in are, right?
Hmm.
And so if a business hits $1 million in EBITDA or more, it is in the top 4% of businesses in America.
Wow.
And so you can buy into the top 4% of businesses in America. And I'm like, that's a pretty stable system to buy, especially
Yeah.
if it's been around for 15, 20 years. So you should check out Buy Then Build. I'm not saying you should buy a business in the next 6 months, but I'm saying
Yeah.
you could if you wanted to.
If I wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
If I
just
got
gonna,
nothing better to do, it's
yeah. Just a little free time on Saturday morning.
right.
But cool, man. So do all make all of your creative outlets to the point where you can do them on a full time basis. Any other dreams or goals that you want to chat about?
Really just, obviously seeing my work, the books that I've done, Excelsior, from Parts Unknown, would love to see them both on a big screen.
Yep.
Um, getting the opportunity to turn Excelsior into an audio drama was the closest thing I'll have to that for now.
Yeah.
But I was given the green light to start adapting part two into an audio drama because it went over so well. And that is definitely on my list of things, but that list is pretty vast right now. So it's something that I would love to do, and at the same time, I still need to get part 3 done for the actual book, and then I can focus on turning that into an audio drama once that's done, because I was given the green light to do the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
But get it, but seeing that happen, seeing those characters get translated to a different medium, it's something that I challenge all writers to do, because when you are adapting your own work into something, into a different medium with the limitations that come with that medium, you're being forced to be creative, and you're forced to look at your work in a different way. You cannot just have you cannot just cut out the dialogue from everything from your whole book, put it on a different document and say, here it is, here's an audio drama. It's not going to work that way,
Yeah.
because you're likely going to have a time limit, and you're also going to have a limited amount of actors to work with, and that in itself creates its own thing. So you want to make sure that that you're able to work within your limitations, and you're also able to make the hard choices. Cut, like they always say, I believe, Stephen King said, kill all your darlings. And I say, be prepared to kill off all your darlings. You don't have to kill them all. You don't want to kill everything that gives you joy when you're writing. So what you want to do is you want to see what can be tweaked, what can be changed, what can be added, what can be subtracted, what characters can be combined, what scenarios would just slow down the pacing of the story. For me, originally, Excelsior, I only had an hour to work with originally. And I had to take something that took 7 hours to listen to from start to finish when it was an audiobook.
Yeah.
I had to take that whole thing and condense it into 1 hour of story. Thankfully, as the rehearsals went on, they made the decision to have it done over 2 different Sundays and not one specific Sunday. So that opens things up to me doing the show for 2 hours. So I was given another hour, but it was still only 2 hours that I had to take this large, fairly large story and condense it down like this. And there was also quite a bit of visual elements to that original book. So I had to tweak it so that way the you had just the audio to work with, and you have to make your adjustments in the dialogue for when certain things happen, that you can properly convey them to your listeners. And so it was a really fun challenge, but at the end of the day, it was still a challenge. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I'm incredibly proud of. I think everyone involved with that audio drama was just phenomenal. And we had a great cast. We had 25 different actors from all around the world, all of us congregating on the Clubhouse app. That's where we all got to do it. And we had sound effects going at the same time, and we had a music score going at the same time. Like, the whole thing was one big production, and it was all strictly volunteer. No one got paid for it. So it wound up becoming more than just an audio drama. It became a proof of concept.
Yeah.
And so I now have that finished piece of audio that I can present to other people and say, look, what do you think about this? They could literally, if things worked out, they could literally animate over that audio and they wouldn't miss anything.
Yeah.
So there's like I said, everything is building towards something, but I don't know what it is yet. I just have to nod and smile and be prepared for anything that comes my way.
That's cool, man. I like that you're like doing the work in preparation for it to come. Like a lot of people, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yep.
And so the opportunity to get your books on a big screen could come by, and you hadn't prepared stuff like, writing the books for one,
Yeah.
like written the books. You've already
Exactly.
transformed them into another form of media, and you're doing the work to get them out there. And so, if you hadn't done all that preparation, the opportunity could fly by you, and you just wouldn't even know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
And
like
that's
that.
something that I highly recommend, like anyone do. Just like I was saying before, when it comes to adapting your work into a different medium. Know the medium, know what it is you're doing. And I've seen way too many people that were so hung up on every single word that they've done that they would say that they want to be involved in, if their book was ever adapted, they want to be a producer, they want to be involved in the casting, they want to be involved in
Yep.
getting the screenplay done and make sure that every little bit of it that was in the book stays in the movie. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Everything is based on the book. It's not the book. We already have the book. And if people want the book, they can go to the bookstore and buy the book.
Yep.
They're here to see that story told in a different medium. And once they kind of come around to that, and it's like, whoa, how can I best serve that medium? Like one of the things that I've seen a lot in terms of movie musicals. You'll see so many different musicals that just went from the stage to screen with very little changed. And it almost feels like it's just the only thing that's missing is the stage around the screen.
Yeah.
But you look at a movie musical like Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd. That was a case of knowing exactly what your medium allows and pushing forward with it. So you have characters that are whispering their words, the lyrics. You have sweeping camera angles going all over the place and really opening things up. Like that's the way to use that medium.
Yeah.
And so and people will have their opinions on what works and what doesn't, but at the same time, it's a great thing to be able to present a story in so many different types of media. It's a great opportunity, and I recommend anyone try it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love it. Well, any other dreams or goals that you want to chat about? We got do all of your creative outlets on a full-time basis and see your books on a big screen. Anything else you want to add there?
Um, keeping the podcast network going
Yeah.
for as long as it can. I love working with people that are just kind of getting started in that realm. I've been able to not quite mentor, but assist one of our podcasters, and I'm watching her just explode now. Like all of a sudden, it just feels like she's in this really great rhythm and is able to deliver her knowledge, her experience, and put it in this format. And she's really excelling at it. I'm so proud of her
Yeah.
for the work that she does. And I'm so proud of all the podcasters that have come aboard this network. Everyone is working really hard on their shows. No one is taking it lightly, and everyone's having fun. And at the end of the day, like that's what we all want. We all want the opportunity to do what we love and have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So that to me, if there was like any sort of real vision, it's really that. I want to do what I love and I want to have fun doing it. And sometimes that's not always going to be there. But I believe that there's room for both.
I love it. All righty. What are the top 1 to 2 skills that you need to develop to make these dreams and goals come true?
Well, the main thing that I personally need to develop is marketing skills because I absolutely love doing all of these things, and it always destroys me when I have to let people know about it, because that's when the imposter syndrome really creeps up, and it's just like why do you keep on talking about this over and over and over again? No one's listening. You're not going anywhere with this. You should just quit. And thankfully, those voices are getting quieter these
Yeah.
days. But it's that in itself is just like it's a matter of getting a better handle on the marketing and also really kind of really being accountable to myself when it comes to coming up with one idea after another and then implementing it right away and not sitting on it because that's what winds up happening a lot of times. I'll sit on it and then the time will finally come for me to be upstairs and in my office and shutting the door and everything. I'm sitting down at the computer. I'm ready to do what I need to do. And I'm all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and I'm ready for bed. Just like
Yeah.
I am done, because normally whenever this happens, it's around like 10 o'clock at night and everyone is winding down and I have this time to do it and everything. And I am just exhausted by the end of it. So that part of it, it's about finding the time to make this happen. And when I have the time to make it happen, actually going forward and making it happen. Um, so it's time management and it's marketing. Those are my two little Achilles heels.
What amount of marketing dollars per month do you think would take you to your dreams and goals?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew um because we're right now like we're getting by. We're doing well enough to get by with what we're doing. But I would need to bring in some more of the supplemental income for me to actually devote some of that to a marketing budget. So that's my thing that's going on right now.
I'm telling you, man, you got to read Buy Then Build.
Yeah.
It's a good little because the thing about money is it's kind of fake in the sense that like like banks give out a bunch of debt
Hmm.
and they kind of create money out of thin air. And so it's very real in our daily lives when we take it on a personal level, but from a like international level, you have the US government printing a lot of money. They can create $3 trillion and then like in the form of debt and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it really comes from like relationships. Like when you think about trade at its foundation, it's money is a thing to exchange currency, agreed
Hmm.
upon value,
Yeah.
to exchange products and services. And so back in the day, it was just product for product or service for service, not
Hmm.
necessarily service for money to then exchange that money for another service. And so if you could think of a strategic partnership that could basically bring in those marketing dollars
Hmm.
and they have enough incentive to keep giving you those marketing dollars, it's a way you could get that money faster without having to trade more time for it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's why.
Everyone wants that good passive income,
Mhm.
to be able to create something like like a webinar or a lesson plan or something
Yep.
that will grab enough attention that it creates mailbox money. So that way, like as soon as you get home, there's money there waiting for you.
Yep.
So, yeah, everyone wants that. That's the dream right there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it just gets me. It gets me because we're not taught about this when we're younger. And I felt like
Yeah.
if we were taught about it when we were like 6, we would have better ideas by the time we're, 24, my age. It's like
Right.
you might be taking better action or having better ideas as opposed to having to unlearn and then relearn. So,
Hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
off my soapbox. Um, what are the highest impact daily actions that are going to tick the needle forward towards your dreams and goals?
Um, the daily ones, it's basically just like just constantly be producing. Um, it's the more I feel that I am producing something at least once a day, then the more momentum I will get, because the more excited I'll be that I'm actually moving forward with things. It's during times when I am not getting in the studio, that's when that's when the that's when it feels like a burden. But it's not a burden, and it shouldn't have to feel that way. So it's one of those things where just like it's a matter of just getting into the studio, sitting down at your computer, whatever the case, and just do something to move that needle forward. And the more you do it, the more you can stick to it, the more it can be a thing for you. Then it's just gonna it's going to create its own reward.
Yeah.
One of the things that I deal with right now is always trying to find the time to sit down with my guests to do their interview. And there have been times, a lot of times, where I would be at their mercy. But what I've done recently, in order to free up my Saturdays and Sundays so I can actually be present for my loved ones, is I commit the weekend before the first Tuesday of the month. That's the way I should say it. The weekend before the first Tuesday of the month. That is when I get all of my interviews done for that month.
Yeah.
So it'll be 3 interviews, sometimes 4, sometimes even 5, whatever it winds up being. And that's what I'm able to do, because once they're recorded, the hard part's over. Then it's a matter of going in, editing it, making it sound better than it was, and putting in the intro, the outro, getting the notes ready, all that stuff. Like I can knock that out on a Monday night.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing. But the hardest part is doing the actual interview. And that's where um that in itself has been great, because by saying that I'm only available for this period of time, it's making things a whole lot more streamlined, and it's allowing me the extra time to be with my family.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a win right there.
There we go. There we go. I love it.
Yeah.
Constantly be producing.
Yep. And that's something that I was I'll never forget this. Back in 99 or 2000, that's when I met Bruce Campbell. And he had his book If Chins Could Kill: Confessions of a B Movie Star, and I not only bought the book, but I got to read it and everything, and really enjoyed it, and went to a Barnes and Noble in New York City where I got to meet him. And he was terrific. And I told him that at that time my friends and I were doing our little sketch comedy things. We were having some ideas for some the type of material we were producing was a little surreal. It was a little out there, but it was fun, and it was great to be like constantly making something with my friends. And we were talking about doing doing a almost like a sketch comedy movie, similar to like the Kentucky Fried Movie or Amazon Women on the Moon. One of those types of
Yep.
films, and just something to have a lot of fun doing. And he was talking in his book about how he wound up meeting Norman Lear, and wound up like cultivating like a little bit of a friendship there. And so I was saying to, I was asking Bruce, not if he could be like a producer or anything like that for us, but basically saying that, offering some advice for similar filmmakers that were getting started, that had a direction, but weren't quite sure exactly where to take everything. And he signed my copy, and he wrote underneath it saying, become a producer. And it's basically just saying, don't wait for someone else to invest in you, invest in yourself. And if it's not money, it's time, it's putting in the work to create something, and then worry about getting it out there once you have something that you can take to the next level. And so that's something that I've held on to all my life since then. And it's something that I will truly be grateful to Bruce for saying, because I've said that, many times over to other people. And I've said, you know, um, we're living in a time right now where we have so much amazing technology at our fingertips, and we have the means to get ourselves out there on various platforms that we never would have thought possible. That's where we are right now. So what are you going to do with these tools that are given to us? They're not tools that we have to buy. With the exception of our phones or whatever, or our computers to get things started. But the software that we use, the applications that we use, all the different things, the digital audio workstation, like, it's all there. There is no reason why we can't go forward and just go for what we want. When it comes to getting our stories out there. And so that's something that I will always be grateful to Bruce for. And I'm glad that I've been able to take that and run with it.
I love it. I gotcha. All right, we're
Yeah.
gonna wrap up with this question. If there were one or two people you could meet right now, this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take that next step towards your dreams and goals, who would they be, and how would they help
Ooh.
you?
Ooh, okay. Well, the big, we all have our big, like, pie in the sky kind of dream. You always think that, well, this is going to lead to this, and then this is going to lead to this, and this is going to lead to this, and so on and so on. But then that's going to happen, and it's going to be Mario catching the star, and all of a sudden just speeding through the rest of the board. And so, what I see that, that person would, for me, is Lorenzo Debano Ventura, and he is a producer behind the Transformers live action films. And the main reason why I specifically pick him is he because after seeing the film Bumblebee, and after seeing The Last Night, the fifth of the live action films, um I figured out I came up with my own storyline for what would be a worthy sequel that would bring in Bumblebee and now Rise of the Beasts with that continuity mixed in with the Michael Bay continuity from the first five films, almost like a Days of Future Past kind of story. And that story, I actually wound up pitching it to my agent, and she said that, well, um, obviously, we don't have the sort of clout to say, we'd like a meeting with Mr. De Bonaventura. Um, and if I were to just write the screenplay, that would come off as fan fiction. So she said, put it out in outline form and write up a scene, and we'll see where it goes. And that's all written up. And so if by some chance, that opportunity would happen and I'd be able to speak with them, that would be huge. Um, and of course, sharing a lunch with Bruce Campbell and getting to basically kind of pick his brain a little bit more, um, based on how I've been able to kind of hold on to the advice that he already gave me, would be amazing. Um, and then another person as a third party in all of this would be Gilbert Atler. Gilbert Adler was the producer of the Tales from the Crypt series, and he's also been a producer on a lot of other films: Superman Returns, Valkyrie, um, Ghost Ship. Was the writer and director of Bordello of Blood, um, and has quite a few credits to his name. It was a true honor to be able to interview him on my podcast
Mm,
and to have the time to be able to sit down and everything with him for, I think we talked for over an hour.
yeah,
In itself, like, that was an amazing accomplishment, being able to sit down with him, and he'd be someone that I would love to speak with more in the future.
I gotcha. I gotcha. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. George, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. That's all we got for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. I appreciate it.
Of course. And where should people contact you if they want to hear more, learn more?
If they want to learn more, they can definitely find me. I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Used to be on Twitter, but not anymore. But you can also find me on TikTok. It's all under the same handle at George Sirois, Sirois. And you can also find me on my website, which is he'sgotit.com, as in by George He's Got It, which is the name of my own audio business. And if you care to listen to the different podcasts and see what we have in store for you, then go to onceuponapodcastnetwork.com.
There we go. Awesome. George, thank you for coming on, guys. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this and you loved what George had to say, make sure to check him out at one of those links. All of them will be down in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.